Okay, for this week we're going to talk about local wind systems and thunderstorms. So let's start with thunderstorms since we actually have some going on right now. Uh, Looking down here in the southeastern part of the U.S., south central, there's lots of thunderstorms right now in Louisiana into Arkansas, Mississippi area. There's actually a mesoscale discussion concerning that. What's a mesoscale discussion? Well, let's read one and take a look at it. It gives you a heads up on what may be going on, what they're highlighting. Basically, isolated damaging wind is expected to persist for a couple more hours in northeastern Louisiana. Why? There's a big squall line extending across that area right now, and storms are moving through a narrow corridor of just barely unstable air that's just enough to maybe cause some isolated. And there is some pretty good effective wind shear. You're learning about wind shear this week. So actually, the air gets even more stable the further downstream. So they're not expecting a lot of severe weather here, but there could be a lot of significant rainfall and all through that area. So it's just something to look at. It gives you a clue of anticipating if you're flying or whatever that what may be coming. And you can see the area they outlined right here, and you can see the instability coming up right in here, wind shear. And I said wind shear modulates convection. The more wind shear, the better chance of severe weather, especially. But you need the combination of some kind of instability as well. And there's just not a lot right now in that area. So just something to look at for today. We'll go back here to the Storm Prediction Center page. And one of the things I wanted to actually show you is you can see here the climatology. And this is where, on an average, it's a 30-year climatology. So if you took the probabilities from the last 30 years, you can see here that this would be the area you might expect severe weather. There's some tornado probability down here in the extreme south, not a lot. Maybe damaging winds. Hail is back to the Midwest. Significant tornadoes are down along the south. And as you go into these, you can actually get each day where you would expect this. So you can actually see a climatology, whether you're seeing an abnormal weather situation or a normal weather situation. So looking at today with these thunderstorms down there, so let's take a look at some soundings. Here's Lake Charles, Louisiana. And there is some instability there right now, but this is literally taking at 8 o'clock this morning. So it's not that old. I'm only at almost 11 a.m. If it heated up to 81, 82 degrees, but currently it's only like 72, you would have a significantly very unstable air mass. Everything here is the atmosphere's temperature, and this would be the air parcels temperature. Remember, air parcel, if they're warmer, rise, and it actually accelerate upwards. So you can see here they really are taking off through this area, and they get really tall. I don't think you'd be flying over top of these too well. So you can see here there's a potential, but potential is not realized right at the moment because you don't have that kind of warm air there. One other thing is a hodograph. Hodographs are just, you plot a wind speed in the direction the wind is moving from. So we have a south wind. Oh, this would indicate south wind at 15 knots. We have a south-southwest wind at 40 knots. West wind at 40 knots right here. So you can see just a plot of where these winds are. But once you hit this 40 knot magic here, a lot of severe weather is possible. Now, in the first 6 kilometers, we kind of look at for where the wind speeds are. So that would only take you up to about 40 knots, around over here somewhere, 30 to 40. So all of this part wouldn't really matter that much. It's all that's a lower level. So it's just a nice way to take a quick peek at what kind of wind shear there is. And you kind of like to see this kind of half moon shape in this corner. There's lots of variables you can calculate. You can calculate convective variable potential energy, sin, which is just the inhibition to convect. And here's your clouds, mass, top, bottoms, what you expect them to be and all. So all this information is there. Say you wanted to look to the east of it. Here's more towards New Orleans. Again, fairly stable in the low levels. Gets kind of unstable aloft. So if you could get some heating, life would get a whole lot more interesting. So what about over here in Florida? We have somebody down there today. Again, pretty stable right now. As a matter of fact, very stable. A lot of clouds up to 7,700 millibars or 3 kilometers. But if you got over to the 80s, all of a sudden convection could spring up. So this is all information you can get from looking at morning soundings. So with that, here we can see all kind of convection, but none of it really looks severe. There's a weak low here, so you have some convergence coming in. Look at this. You have northwest flow on the one side of it and southeast on the other side. So you have winds coming together. You can actually look at these charts, and these are all off of the Storm Prediction Center page, and look for something called moisture convergence. Moisture convergence is just bringing all that moisture, and it's converging air. So if you combine the two together, you're probably going to get a lot of lift right in this area. And that's where the thunderstorms are right now, right in this area. You'll notice there's not a whole lot to the east of that. There's some out here around Florida's coast and all right now. There's no real showers out to the east. But this is the area, I don't know where we were talking about, over Louisiana and all, where you have that. You can actually look in the upper air and even see temperature advection. Sometimes it's nice to know that you're getting warm air advection into an area. There's a little bit down here in this area, but nothing great. You can look at a wind shear, and you can see 30 to 40 knots of wind right down in here, a wind shear. So you have some probabilities for some pretty decent winds from that. And actually, you can combine these all into really fancy looking indices to see that, oh, there's a possibility of supercell thunderstorms in this area right now. So all of this can be worked together to look at where thunderstorms may be, how they may translate eastward. And if you look at this as they're translating eastward, with the instability coming down and all, they're probably going to weaken as they move east this morning, which pretty much makes sense. So I wanted to show you, I was trying to find a wave clouds, and there's a few right here. There's a little bit of a northwest wind, north wind here, and that's coming across the mountains here, causing a few wave clouds. But what's left of Nestor is out here. You can see the swirl. But lots of low clouds today, and I might write up about this just because it sure has messed up the forecast for around here. Yesterday they were calling for partly sunny here today. And today we have ceilings running about 500-600 feet. So if you're a pilot, that would not be too good. But you can actually see the clearing coming down the coast here. And a lot of this up here is all fog. You can actually see in the river valleys. Remember, local wind systems too even impact at night. And they'll push the cold air down into the valleys. So sometimes if you're flying into a valley location or whatever, if you look around you and have mountains, your cold air at night is going to drain down those mountains. You're going to get a wind flow from down the mountains into those valleys. And that's what you're getting here. So say we were to look at a different part of the world right now. So let's go down to where we were looking in those thunderstorm areas down in the southern part, Mississippi. And let's take a look. I think we got something here. Here you can see the clouds and all that. Let's see if we can get a better image. Now here's an infrared. Notice the massive, really high cloud tops just off the coast where there's better instability. Oh yeah, there is actually a few showers now forming over in Tampa area. So we were looking at the potential for some instability there, and there the clouds and little showers are. So kind of neat to see all of these things come together here. One last thing, I want to see if I can get a CONUS east, and we'll look at a lightning feed. And you can see where the lightning is right now. Guess what? There's a little bit of lightning starting to pop up across that part of Florida. So if you're trying to fly westward today, you're running into the little bit of thunderstorms there. And notice all the lightning down the Gulf Coast, just off the shore there, most of it just barely getting into Louisiana right now. However, there is some other up here in Illinois and stuff so we could look at. And there actually is some lightning out over the water with Nestor. So all this information, what you're going to be talking about this week as well. So let me know if you have any questions about this.